Hello and welcome to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg. I am here today to do a Friday Reads video, even though I don't know that I'm going to actually get to post this on a Friday. The date hopefully doesn't matter as much as the content, but I'm going to call it a Friday Reads for some purposes of simplicity. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about your 3K Q&A, Greg? You're probably not actually thinking that, but if you are, let's just go with it. So, if you're unfamiliar, I decided to do a Q&A video after Kristen Ann asked for it after I hit 3,000 subscribers on my channel. Thank you all again, by the way. And I had said that I would film the Q&A video at some point this week and get it posted. I was not able to get it filmed. So I'm going to try to do it next week. And please bear with me on that because I'm going to tell you right now, there is a chance I won't have the time or like emotional capacity to get it filmed next week because my foster son is having surgery next week. It's fine. It's planned. There's nothing wrong. Nobody's life is in danger. But because of that, I might not have time to do any longer form videos like a 3K Q&A, or I haven't even done part 5 of my bookshelf tour yet. So I don't know if I'm going to get either one of those filmed next week. I didn't this week. But I promise you I will try. So let's consider this an extension of the question submission period. So if you have a question, please don't leave it on this video because it's going to be much easier for me to have them all in one place. I'll put a link to the 3K Q&A announcement video down below in the description box. Follow the link to that video and leave your question as a comment on that. It'll just be easier for me that way. If you have a question, thank you. I really appreciate it. Today I did actually manage to start taking the questions and putting them into a list that I can work off of when I do film. So hopefully that'll make things easier next week so I can get it done. Things just got away from me this week. Work has been really busy. I ended up working late a lot of nights. Guinness is still getting over pneumonia. He's fine. He is actually seeming like his normal self again as of yesterday, which is really good to see. But there's just been a lot going on with that. And then I had a migraine yesterday, so I was really getting nothing done yesterday. But anyway, thank you for your patience. It's not like you had a choice in the matter, but I appreciate your patience anyway. I'm still going to do the 3K Q&A. I'm just going to try to get to it next week. If I don't get to it next week, please understand, and I'll make sure I do get to it. That's a promise. So I'm going to hold the reading portion of the Friday Reads until the end. Once again, first I want to talk about a video I saw from Seiji, whose channel is The Artisan Geek. I will leave a link to the video down below about why Amazon sucks. And I think this is a really important video for anyone who reads. And if you're watching this video or if you subscribe to this channel, hopefully you are a reader. If you're not, I don't know that I have enough personality to interest you. But you know, hey, you do you. Odds are you are a reader if you're here. So I just think it's a really important conversation to have and something to be aware of and to think about, and how Amazon has so much control over the publishing industry, and how we as readers need to be really intentional with how we spend our money and who we support. And a lot of that goes to purchasing. I personally go to used bookstores. I support my local indies. If I can't get anything from them, I go to Barnes & Noble, and if I've exhausted all of those resources and there's nowhere else I can go, I might order off of Amazon. The library is also a great resource for me. I use it all the time, and it's important to use your library, by the way, because the statistics of usage help them get funding. So the more you use your library, the better your library will be. And that's my soapbox on libraries. Please support them. And one of the things Seiji talks about in her video is Goodreads, and how Amazon owns Goodreads, and how Goodreads is effectively part of Amazon's data collection machine. And I'll let you check out her video to find out all of the specifics. But here's really part of why I'm bringing it up. I want to bring it up because I think it's important, and I want you to check out her video because what she talks about is important. So here's my part of this conversation. I have always been wary of the fact that Amazon owns Goodreads, but I haven't really been able to let Goodreads go. And a lot of that is because there's a functionality and a sense of community on Goodreads that I feel like I can't get anywhere else. But Seiji talked about the Storygraph, which is a site I had heard of from a couple of other places. Kazen from Always Doing, the channel I mentioned last week, had also mentioned Storygraph and its functionality. It's a very new site, but it aims to do a lot of the things Goodreads does without actually duplicating Goodreads You know, it's not looking to be a clone of Goodreads. It wants to do its own thing. And some of the things that it's doing differently are really interesting. It will sort books by mood, which is a really interesting way of thinking about reading. And it will analyze your books and tell you more about yourself as a reader, which I also thought was really interesting. And one of the best things is you can import all of your Goodreads data to Storygraph, so you don't have to spend a whole lot of time looking up books, remembering what you have read, and all that. It can import all of the data. I did it this week. I signed up, created an account, took the survey about what I like as a reader, because it also has a book recommendation function, and the recommendations it gave me were really solid. I've only looked at the list once, but just at that first glance, it really seems to know me as a reader, and that's always a good thing. But so it thinks about books in emotional terms, as I said. So it tells me I like to read books that are reflective, emotional, and dark, which is really interesting to know. And it's funny because then reflective is a word I would not have thought to use when describing books that I like to read, but that is exactly what I like. Anytime I have mentioned memoirs on this channel, I feel like the one thing I say is that I really like ones where the author is reflecting on their life, but I haven't used the word reflecting, and it's so me, but I wouldn't have thought of that. And because I imported all of my Goodreads data, that reflective is the quality in a book that I read the most, and followed by emotional, and then challenging, and then informative, then dark, then sad, then funny. So it tells me a lot about myself, and it puts it into this pie chart, which again is really interesting to look at. So it talks about the pace of reading, and it compares the books that you have read to the books that are on your TBR in terms of emotion and page count and possible pace of reading. There's just a lot of really good information about it on the site. The one thing it does not have that I would really miss from Goodreads is the ability to create shelves and tags, because I obsessively tag or create shelves for my books on Goodreads, just because I think it's interesting to have a shelf for books I read in 2019 and a shelf for books I read in 2020, and to have a shelf for books that made me cry, and to have a shelf for things that I read as part of the BookTube prize, so I can always keep track of those things. I did give some feedback on Storygraph to request that feature, and they responded within an hour and said that they are trying to be mindful of not just cloning Goodreads and duplicating all of the functionality from that site. However, they have gotten a lot of feedback from people that they would like to see some kind of feature for that. So once they have the core of the site done, they are still in beta, and please keep that in mind. They will be looking to add more functionality, and it's very likely that they will have some kind of a tagging feature. And that's one of the things that I'm really enjoying about Storygraph so far, is that it feels like I can help create the book site that I want, because with Goodreads, I could give them feedback. They're probably not going to listen to me. But with this, because they're developing it and trying to be their own thing and trying to find things that are important to readers, it seems like I can give that kind of feedback. And because it's in beta, it won't have all of the functionality now, but I can hopefully help be a part of a process that will create the book community site that I want. And it will be free from Amazon, which is amazing. So I'll put a link to Storygraph down below as well. Please check it out. And like I said, I think if you join as well and give feedback and become part of the feedback community, we can have this amazing site. And I think there's a lot of potential with Storygraph to be that site. It's still in beta right now, so have a little bit of patience, but I think there's a lot of promise there. So again, I'll put a link to it down below. Please take a little bit of time to check it out. Take the survey about recommendations. One thing that was really funny, it has a Your Book section, which is recommendations, and the first two on the list are romance, which I don't traditionally read, but is part of my Read Outside Your Comfort Zone challenge, and they actually seem like interesting books. So they do seem to have a really good algorithm that has me pegged as a reader already and can provide additional recommendations to me, which is amazing. And that kind of ties into the next thing I want to talk about, which is a little bit more about book awards in general. I've covered the book a fair amount, but and it's funny because you can get 20 good comments and then you get one bad comment and you think about it a lot. So one person had commented on my Booker reaction to say that they didn't think I should talk about the long list if I haven't read the books. And I did, like I said, it's one person, don't want to focus on the negative, but I did think there's an interesting conversation to be had there that I kind of wanted to talk about here. So for me, I love to use long lists, short lists, and book awards and things like that as a tool for discovery, to discover books that might not have been on my radar before, which is part of why I really liked the long list for the Booker Prize this year, because it exposed me to so many books I probably wouldn't have come across if they hadn't made the long list. So yes, me talking about the books on that list is a lot of speculation, but I think for me, I just want to use it as a tool for discovery, because I'm not a person who is going to say, like, I'm going to read every book on the Booker long list. I absolutely support anybody who does, Savage Reads usually does, Eric Carl Anderson usually does, KD Books, Kieran's new channel, is all about the Booker Prize, so he's going to be reading all of them. If that's your thing, that's great. It's not for me. I'm not saying I would never do it. I have a project to read every single book that has won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, so I do have it in some areas, but it's not something I would do. So for me, a long list is a tool for discovery, to find new books, and then pick and choose the ones that I want to read, and follow along and see where it goes. Because I might change my mind about some of the ones that I had kind of immediately said, I don't know if that's for me. Part of the thing is that a title you might dismiss on the long list might spark a conversation if it makes the short list, and the conversation might be interesting, and you might end up picking it up. That's why I like following these awards. So, I don't know. Maybe I just felt like I kind of wanted to explain a little bit and say that's how I think about these things, like a long list reaction. And that's why I follow them, and why I think they're interesting, and why I like having these conversations, because I learn a lot from the feedback I get from other people. So some people commented and defended some of the books that I said, well, I don't know if I'm interested in that one. And like Ann Tyler, there have been some defenders of her on this channel, especially since I have mentioned she's a Pulitzer Prize winner, and if you follow along, you know I've only read Breathing Lessons. But so I learn from talking about that, and then having people say, okay, Dinner at the Homesick Restaurant is a book of hers you really need to read. And that's what I like. So it's that interaction and that push and the pull. So that's why I like doing long list reactions, and it sparks conversation about books and helps me discover things, and maybe points out authors I might need to give another try, like Ann Tyler. So that's kind of what I want to say about that. So I guess in a way there's really no larger conversation there, except I think it would be interesting to know what you think about long lists. That's how I think of them, as a tool for discovery and a way to start conversation about books and authors and things I might not have otherwise discovered. But I'm really curious about what you think of them, and if you think they're good tools, if so, for what, and if you enjoy them, and how you would like to see them used. So, I don't know, I'm kind of thinking as I talk. So, if you have any thoughts about any of that, you can leave it in a comment down below, and I would very much appreciate that. And that, I think, takes us into the currently reading section of this Friday Reads video. I like to approach Friday Reads videos from a kind of chatty perspective, in case you haven't noticed. It's just kind of an opportunity to talk about other things going on in the bookish world, maybe what's going on in my reading life, and things like that. And I don't traditionally do Friday Reads videos every week, but I think I've noticed I'm becoming a little more of a habitual Friday Reads poster. And because I kind of like having this opportunity to talk about a little bit more random bookish things without doing a specific video about those topics. So anyway, let's get to the currently reading part of this conversation. So I had mentioned last week that my next audiobook was going to be In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. It was not, because unbeknownst to me, in the month of August, her audiobook became unavailable on Scribd until August 17th, so I was unable to start it. I will be able to start it next week. Instead, I started listening to Hondo by Louis L'Amour, which is read by David Strathairn, and David Strathairn does a great job with the narration. I am not, however, loving the book, and I am only about a third of the way into it, so I need to get a little... I'm going to finish it. It's well written, but it is very much like Western cliche after Western cliche, and I'm struggling with that part of it. So this is obviously part of my Read Outside Your Comfort Zone challenge. I'm trying to read genres that I don't traditionally read, and I don't read a lot of Westerns, and I had a great success with True Grit. I had great success with Lonesome Dove. Hondo, I felt like I had to read a Louis L'Amour book because he's kind of the person that most people would point to as the definitive author of the genre. And it's just, like I said, the writing is good. The plot it very much relies on cliches. I need to finish it. So, and I'm going to, before I get to In the Dream House when that becomes available. But I'm not loving it so far. Let's just leave it at that. And then, of course, I am reading Hamnet on NetGalley. This is by Maggie O'Farrell. It is shortlisted for the Women's Prize, which will be announced next month. Did not make the long list for the Booker Prize, which caused a lot of consternation. I have only 100 pages left. I have not made any progress on it during the week. I had to leave off where I was on Sunday, just because the work week got so busy that I have not really had a whole lot of time to devote to physical reading. I've managed to listen to Hondo a little bit, but yeah, and when I have had time to read during the week, I've been devoting it to Blonde, which I will get to next. Now, spoiler alert, I'm really liking Hamnet. I can't imagine that in the last 100 pages it will let me down, but so far it's amazing. I'm really liking it. It is a very good book. So I'm very much looking forward to hopefully finishing Hamnet this weekend and being able to talk to you more about it, because I think that's a book that's has a lot to talk about, and I can't wait to get to the conversation. So stay tuned for Hamnet. I will be talking more about that. So the other book I am currently reading is Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. This is a buddy read with Britta. So we read 100 pages last week. Now we're reading about 200 pages for this weekend. I have just a little bit more to go, and I want to check in with Britta about my thoughts with it for this week. So I don't want to talk about the page 100 to 200. I will tell you what I told her last week, which was that the first 100 pages I liked it, but saw potential that I would not like it at some point in the book. So that's all I'm going to say. I know that's really cryptic, but stay tuned for more. There will be a lot more to say about this book as well. That's Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. And that's everything I'm reading. At the moment, I didn't finish anything this week, didn't start anything else, so those are the books that are on my plate right now. I have a lot that I need to get to over the next month. I haven't even started my Book 2 Prize reading. In the Dream House will be the first one I get to for that. The rest are probably going to have to wait until September at this point, so I'm looking forward to those. But I'd love to hear what you've been reading. If you have thoughts about any of the other things that I've said in this video at all, please let me know. Drop them in the comments down below. Once again, there's an extension on submitting questions for the 3K Q&A, so if you leave a comment on the video for the Q&A announcement, not this video, follow the link to the Q&A announcement and leave your question there. I would really appreciate it, and I promise I will get to it. I will get to it soon. So, that's everything in this Friday Reads. I hope your reading week has been good. Again, let me know how it is in the comment down below, and if you've made it this far in this video, thank you for that. It is deeply, deeply appreciated. Like I said, I kind of intimated at this, but with the long list conversation, I really enjoy the conversations and the sense of community of having a channel. So thank you for that. It really does mean a lot to me. And anyway, I will be back. Until next time, happy reading.